brought them in. We used this birthday money in order to buy greenways and infrastructure and parks and things that we can't afford as a city. So I take it back a little bit on that. I know that originally we sat at the table, there was only about 5 of us, but we sat at the table, we said, okay, code enforcement, we could do that for a year, clean things up, maybe 2 years, but now I understand that it's actually moved over to almost a permanent thing. I know Amari got very upset when they used consultants rather than employees. But again, we shouldn't be using birthday money to pay our bills. If we have a need for bills, then we should be putting that into our budget. Thank you.
Amari Hardy has opted to use his 2-minute rebuttal, his first 2-minute rebuttal on this topic. Is timekeeper ready?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
So let's talk about the CDBG grant program money. That program was created by Congress. It's an over 30-year program. Congress defines what is an appropriate or an inappropriate use of that money. And so if you actually read the CDBG money, you will see that code enforcement is actually a perfectly fine use of it. And if you actually do what I did, which is got a report from Palm Beach County as to how every single city that gets CDBG money, how do they use that money? And I found that there were cities all over Palm Beach County that were using this money on code enforcement, especially the cities that have our demographics and that have our problem with landlords. So I would first of all object to the idea that CDBG money, simply because we've used it for infrastructure in the past, must forever be used for infrastructure. And one of the reasons why I would object to that is not only because it's an eligible use, but also because for the first time in a long time, we have more money for infrastructure in this city than we've ever had. The voters, thank God, approved a $40 million road bond. In addition to that, the voters of Palm Beach County approved the penny sales tax, of which we will get approximately $24 million. So when I looked at the eligible uses for CDBG, I said, why would we triple down on infrastructure when we have the road bond, we have the penny sales tax money, and both of those things together are more than enough to handle our infrastructure needs, especially given the fact that we could use the money for another purpose. And so that's number one. The other thing is I would object to the characterization that this money is birthday money. This is an entitlement program. Our city, by virtue of our demographics, is entitled to this money, period. We get it every single year. It passes through the county to us, and we've gotten that money for as long as we can remember, and we will continue to get that money. So as other cities have done, I expect that we should use this money to continue to put the pressure on the city's worst landlords who have been bad neighbors to the homeowners around them and who have been bad landlords to their tenants. That's really important. And I think it's important that we think out the box and actually learn these programs, because that is how you solve problems. You can't solve problems if the only thing you look to is what we've done in the past. Thank you.
All right. Our next question is going to be a 1-minute question, timekeepers and candidates. And we're going to start with Kathy Turk. We're going to work our way down the line and end up with Amari Hardy. 1-minute question. I'm holding. You're making her sweat out this question. We ready? Okay. You are being elected to a 3-year term. What role do you see the city taking in the upcoming census of 2020? How can we make sure the count is fair and accurate for our city?
Well, obviously the city's going to take a really big role in this. We also have to work with Horizons and Bridges and all of the nonprofits and all of the groups. So we should probably be having meetings with them now to get together so that we can make sure that everyone understands exactly what's on it. I also wouldn't totally object if we all agreed not to put down where we were born or what country we're from. That would probably help us quite a bit get an accurate count. As you know, the count is extremely important to our city. So I believe that the city takes a huge part in this. I think all the nonprofits are going to have to come on board. We need to understand how important this is, and we need to start now. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Robertson?
Actually, I think this is more than a 1-minute question, but the census is terribly important. If we get a population of 50,000 people, the CDBG money won't be designated from the county, but it'll be designated directly to us. Terribly important. And the census is a big part of that. The census is also going to dictate gerrymandering. And when I talk about gerrymandering on the dais, it's a national issue that is going to affect Lake Worth when we have 3 representatives to other levels that consider Lake Worth not that important in their elections. So gerrymandering is terribly important, and it's part of a national conversation that we should be having, okay.
Just remind the candidates, they can always use their R's, their rebuttals, if they feel that it merits more time or they have a difference of opinion with another candidate. Tom Copeland.
Thanks. I would mirror what I've heard so far, working with nonprofits and other entities reaching out outside of Lake Worth. I'm a big fan of that, and we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. But I'd also like to put out that one of the best ways to bring government to the people is by getting face-to-face. So I like the idea of getting face-to-face with these people. So grassroots campaign. We are going to, if it is indeed important to get and it is, to get an accurate count, then actually getting to these doors and explaining that. We also need to know where we're starting at as well. We have 36,000 residents here in the city, but we do know that many residents do live in homes where the count may be much higher. They call it the shadow population. So I think the best way to do that is getting face-to-face and reaching out outside of our city as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's going to take an effort. I mean, we do have, as Tommy said, the shadow population. And to get them to talk to us, to even let us know that they're there, it's important that we get to that 50,000 number and get that money for ourselves. And it's more money than we would get with the population that we have. I disagree that we should be discussing gerrymandering on the dais, because again, it's a national issue, and we can't solve that problem when 5 commissioners vote on it. We spend so much time talking about these things, an hour for each meeting, and that goes over 3 meetings. The business of the city needs to come first. And the business of the city is going to be key on the census. So I think the city has already set forth a plan on how to get people involved. Kathy's right, getting the nonprofits in. So that's really what we need to do. It's going to have to be buttoned down. We're going to have to just go after it and explain to these folks, we're not here to take you away. We're here to count you.
Thank you. Our next question is going to be a 2-minute question. Oh, Mari, thank you for reminding me. Sorry about that.
What I'll say is, I don't think it's a good thing that our 7-square-mile city has 4 state representatives, 3 of whom have never darkened the doorstep of our city halls to see what it is that we need. And so I think it's important that we get a big census count, because our 7-square-mile city deserves a representative who will actually be here and listen to us. The key thing is we need outreach. We need census outreach. The sheriff does believe that we have about a 10 to 15,000 shadow population. Just to paint a picture of what this shadow population means in terms of missed opportunities, each individual that's not counted costs the city $1,200 in grant funding. So if we can just get out there and have outreach with people the way that LA does, they work really hard to get their count accurate, the way that other cities do, we can finally get an accurate count and get all of our grant money. Right now we get $300,000 of CDBG grant money. That's based on our population, that's based on our housing statistics. Imagine what that would be if our population were to jump, not because we had extra people, but because simply we counted them, right? So I think that's very important. We need outreach.
Okay, the next question is going to be a 2-minute question, as I stated. We're going to start with Tom Copeland, go on to Herman Robinson, and end up with Richard Garcia. And 2-minute question. Topic, penny sales tax. The penny sales tax was supposed to bring our city roughly $20 million for infrastructure improvements, 6 of which was already spent. Do you approve what the $6 million was spent on, and what do you think should be done with the remaining $14 million? Tom Copeland.
Okay, wow, it came up nice and early, huh? Great. So yes, I do. To answer the question, yes, I do approve of what the city spent its money on. We know that when it comes to investing in infrastructure, that the city investing in areas where we can grow industry and manufacturing is where we're going to get the greatest return on tax dollars back down the road. So taking money and investing it into Boutwell Road and the Park of Commerce is an incredibly important move. I'm proud that we were able to do that and recognize that that's an important way to grow our tax base. I would say with the remainder of the penny sales tax dollars, well, we want to start with what penny sales tax dollars are destined for, what you're supposed to be using them for. You're supposed to be using them on infrastructure. So spending money on, I've heard ideas of spending money on redoing a pool. I've heard ideas of spending money on redoing amenities. These are not infrastructure projects, those are amenities. We can't spend money on them, in my opinion. I think that argument can be made. What I'd like to do is I'd like to see penny sales tax dollars invested into mobility and walkability into and out of our downtown corridors. And very specifically, I'd love to see penny sales tax dollars, some portion of it, invested into our alleyways to make those walkable and bikeable. A nice permeable surface, right? Line them up. Put some heat on them. Let's get people walking into and out of our downtown. I'd also like to see penny sales tax dollars used to what extent it can be into our electric infrastructure. We know how important our electric infrastructure is, specifically as it is a grid. It's more of a distribution system than a generation system, and that's going to, and focusing on that is what's going to help us continue to diversify ourselves with our money come in, and also we have an electric utility. So I'd like to see us put money actually into the infrastructure with a focus on reliability, because people deserve good, reliable, cheap energy. Thank you.
Thank you.
The birthday money was mentioned. I think the penny sales taxes are inheritance money from the county, and I think it's terribly important that we spend it wisely now that it's taken us a year to get to a conversation, a workshop on the Casino Park property. And there couldn't be a better infrastructure project than attracting tourism to Lake Worth. We've already spent $3 million in the Park of Commerce, well spent. We've spent the remaining money on security and safety in our city, well spent. But we can leverage the remaining money to make improvements and amenities that our community deserves. The money is a difficult decision to make because obviously people have different desires, but the conversation has to be had. February 7th, we're finally going to have a workshop on the penny sales tax and education and the beach complex improvements. And I look forward to that. I look forward to serving the community with what they deserve, not necessarily, what they deserve. They deserve quality amenities that should be an attraction to Palm Beach County, and everybody that visits Florida come to our town and see our beachfront park.
Hi, so this penny sales tax is actually one of my top 10. If you look up our other municipalities around us, Boynton Beach had listed 171 projects that they're going to be spending their penny sales tax on. So we are really behind the ball on this one. As you said, we spent approximately $6 million before, and of course the Boutwell money was spent because we had to match the money, obviously a good investment there. I think that some monies, I'm disappointed it's taken us 2 years to come up with this meeting and to discuss where we're going to spend the penny sales tax. It's irresponsible. I do recognize that we have a problem at the casino. There's nothing that says blight like a pool that's been boarded up for 2 years. I'm not sure that a pool there right now is the answer because we haven't seen any numbers. We haven't seen numbers. We have to do something that's going to be economically sustainable. So I would definitely like to see us address the casino. Obviously, we need to, again, take a look at the numbers and economically sustainable. As far as the parking, I think that some of that money probably could have waited until we had a full discussion and cleared a complete budget. But all in all, I think that Well, what can I say? I think that we should have waited. I think we should have had a budget meeting. I think that we obviously that will needed to happen, and that's where I stand on it. Thank you.
Amari Hart.
I believe Herman Robinson has a rebuttal, or are we going to wait until everyone is?
We're going to wait until everyone goes for rebuttals. In addition, well, we're going to wait until everyone goes for rebuttals.
Okay, the first thing I'll say is that it's hard to say that we should wait to create a parking solution until we have a budget and all of these things, which, by the way, we have sought out these things, while also saying that we should have spent and decided the penny sales tax money 2 years ago. Now, I agree that the process by which we have decided where this money goes has been lacking. I believe Herman Robinson and I have both been screaming from the top of our lungs that this is not the appropriate process, that we should not be spending the money in dribs and drabs. I remember going to National League of Cities and watching Commissioner Keith James, who's now running for mayor in West Palm Beach, talk about this less than a year after the penny sales tax had passed. And he gave an entire presentation to elected officials all around the country about how before the money had even been decided by the voters that they would get it, that they had decided what to do with that money, and that they had actually begun the process of bonding that money out. Meanwhile, in Lake Worth, again, we're spending it in dribs and drabs, and I had spoken about that from the beginning, that it was not the appropriate process. As they say, you can't fight City Hall. We do have a very strong city manager. We don't always agree on things, but both Herman and I have said that this money should have been decided up front. That's very important. What would I spend the money on? It goes in this order for me. It goes roads. That's the first thing. Because even though we have a $40 million road bond program, if you actually look at it, there were many, many roads that were left off of the list because this time we came back for a smaller bond. So there's actually about $10 million worth of roads that are in disrepair, that are going to get worse, that are going to get more expensive to fix, that if we don't fix with the penny sales tax money, we would not be able to do it in a cost-effective manner. We need to do that as quickly as possible. So that's my first thing with that money. It needs to be spent on roads. By the way, that doesn't include the 2.5 miles of unpaved roads that remain in this city, many of which are on the south side of the city, many of which are on the west side of the city, many of which are in areas where the poverty is very high and where people deserve the better infrastructure than what they have. The other thing is a pool. And it's been said that we have no numbers. Well, first of all, I'm the only person up here who's visited every single municipal pool in the county. I've gotten their numbers back. Our pool actually loses less money than every other pool in the county except for Calypso Bank. So with the extra parking revenue, we should be able to cover the operation cost. All we have to do is get the infrastructure dollars to fix the pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Herman, I know you put your, all right, before you go do say anything, the NAPC and their infinite wisdom thought that this was going to be a big issue. So they're offering a 1-minute extra talking period on this topic. We'll start with Herman, go down to Tom Copeland, Richard Garcia. Oh, Richard, I'm sorry. We're going to let that happen.
You're leaving out the ends there, John.
Yeah, never mind. You'll have 1 more minute.
I'm glad we waited a little bit to decide what to do with penny sales tax. You know, when it first came in March of 2017, everybody was wondering, it was right when the pool was closed, and everybody was saying, okay, let's do the pool, and then let's do this, and let's do the other thing. And I'm glad we kind of waited a little bit, to take a step back. This is really, you know, a lot of money that we need to deal with, and it's over 10 years. So to have a good logical plan rather than to jump in, I think isn't such a bad thing. I would say this about roads, absolutely not. We have $40 million, we're going to be about $5 million under budget when the whole thing is said and done. We have another $1 million that we got in premiums from when the bonds were sold. $587,000 from the first tranche and $429,000 from the second tranche. When we're done with the roads, we're going to have what's left is a higher PCI, meaning a higher pavement condition index. There are less money to repair and to fix. So rather than having 15% of the money left over and having 15% more roads, it's more likely to be 25 or 30% more roads. So I think we wait on roads until we have that, until we're done, and then we can apply penny sales tax money to it. As far as the grid goes, we're already doing the grid. We just signed a 7-year power purchase agreement with Orlando that's going to lower our purchase costs for energy by about $4.8 to $5.2 million over the period of that 7 years. That money is going to get plowed into either the debt service for redoing the grid and building us extra capacity. So I don't think we need to do any of that. As far as the pool goes, well, let's go back to penny sales tax and what we should do with it. Scott Maxwell had a great idea when we talked about this. It was July 25th, 2017, penny sales tax workshop. And it was buy land for future use. The city attorney said, no, it's not in the ballot language. It's in the state statute, but it's not in the ballot language. What happened was they backdoored that money through the CRA to buy those properties, the same amount of money, $2.5 million, against what the city attorney had told us we do. I didn't see any public opinion from the city attorney saying different from what he had said. So we've done that in a certain way. We just need to find things with ROI. In fact, I charge my board, the FAB, to find opportunities for ROI that were within the ballot language, not the state statute.
My apologies, Mr. Garcia. The two of you on the ends are getting short-shrifted by me. I apologize to you for not having you in on that one.
That's okay.
All right. The NAPC has said this is a big topic, so they're going to allow 1 more minute discussion on this penny sales tax question. And so Herman, you're ours taken back at this point, okay? Unless you want to use it again.
So you're saying we have 3 minutes?
You have 1 more minute to go. You start, then Tom Copeland, then Richard Garcia, then Amari Hardy, then Kathy Turk.
Then we have a rebuttal.
No. Then you want, you can have a rebuttal if you want.
You said you might not.
You can talk now. You have an extra minute.
I would like to take a minute to really have people understand that a pool is an amenity. It's not an income producing anywhere. We've spent $2 million for parking downtown, which the Finance Advisory Board agreed with, and we were waiting for any other from the advisory board, and seemed to be in agreement with how we were spending money. The roads are got a good jump start with the bond. The electric is a bonding issue. That's a revenue bond that the electric should be able to take care of itself. And nobody comes to visit Lake Worth because we have new roads. They will come because we have parking downtown and we have a beautiful casino park at the beach.
All right. Tom Copeland.
Thank you. I don't want to spend too much time on the pool because I imagine that's probably going to come up, but what I will say is a few things that I've heard. The pool loses less money. That may be true, but the difference is absorption ability. So the difference is our fund is $4.5 million in the hole already. So the county can absorb those kinds of losses. As a small city like us, we cannot. Another thing is I want to make the distinction between profit and revenue. Commissioner Robinson is right in that amenities are not designed to make profit. They should be designed to make revenue. That is important. Revenue is an important thing. But onto the roads. Another thing that just to throw it out there on roads, at the end of the road bond program, we're going to have approximately 33% of our roads redone to the PCI index that Mr. Garcia is talking about. But that is 33%, guys. 33%. That means we have 66% more to do. So I don't disagree on roads. I think that's a good idea. But also looking into what some of the other cities have done. So if you look at West Palm Beach, they have put money into community centers, they put money into neighborhoods, and we don't have a single community center here in this city. Just want to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, when it comes to roads, we're going to have a third of the roads done, but we're going to have all this money left over to do more roads at the end. And I think we just wait until it's done before we start spending money on roads. The opportunity to get ROI out of this. This is money that we can build something, generate revenue, and then have recurring revenue once the sales tax money runs out. It was a great idea, but it got shot down, and now we're trying to do that. I don't like the way it was done, but that's the manner that it is. As far as the pool goes, and I'm guessing we are going to talk about the pool. The pool loses less money than all the other pools, but don't forget we had a $178,000 water bill for the pool alone in its last year of operation because we had a 15,000 gallon a day leak, right? And that was out of $211,000 for the water bill for the entire complex. Right? That doesn't count the chemicals as well. So when you add all of that in together, it can be a profitable model if we do it properly. And hopefully we talk about the pool, and I'll talk about it then.
I'll say that maybe we had a $170,000 water bill at the pool because we've refused for years to invest in the pool. And I think that's really important. You can't sandbag the pool and say that it doesn't work. So let's get that out of the way. I also want to clear up something. Our beach fund is not $4.5 million in the hole. Our beach fund has reserves, and our beach fund will actually grow its reserves because we raised the parking rates to meet the market here in Palm Beach County. And a lot of people thought that we wouldn't see the traffic come to the beach. Well, the fact is, I actually looked at the numbers the other day. The revenue is up. the traffic has not actually come down. So we have the money to operate a pool now without the loss worrying me. I was extremely concerned about the loss. That's why I went and had the other pools, not just the county-owned pools, but the locally owned pools, open up their books to us because I wanted to see how they operate. As regards to roads, we're $5 million under budget now, but what about later? Anyone who's done a construction project knows that you may be under budget today and over budget tomorrow. Meanwhile, we'll have to wait for the road bond project to be done while people are living and driving on roads that are really, really terrible. And I've had the misfortune of having to tell someone who wanted us to improve the road that we didn't have any money. We should use the Finney sales tax money now for the roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, please.
First of all, let me say on the beach complex, when I say that it needs to be economically sustainable, I am not suggesting that the pool needs to be able to pay for itself, but I am saying that we need to see the numbers and we need to know that we are paying for it, or that we can pay for it. Also, on the water bill, I just want to point out that we're not paying ourselves for our water. We have to pay Palm Beach for that water because we can't use our own water at the pool. The other thing as far as roads are concerned, I just point out here too that I live on the corner of B Street and 9th Avenue. 9th Avenue is a dirt road. And you know, as far as CDBG money, I know that Amari had just said that we didn't need to use it for infrastructure because we have all these other monies coming, but we do. And as far as the penny sales tax, again, I think that we all need to sit down at the table. We need to put our priorities out there and hash it out. It needs to happen sooner rather than later. You're going to do it on February, so hopefully that comes forth. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let me interrupt. How are these guys so far? Put your hands together. And our moderator. And keep it going for the timekeepers. All right. This is the 2-minute halftime show. The 2-minute halftime show is the Playhouse. The Playhouse had a bunch of people here all day today for us, and tonight and tomorrow, to break down and clean up. And they're running their air conditioning and their staff. And what we're going to do is our ushers are going to pass the basket right now. So right after this is all the gotcha questions, by the way. And there's just hundreds of gotcha questions. Sorry in advance, guys. All right, so I've been asked to tell you that the Playhouse does not need your money. They have an abundance of money. But here's the challenge. It is in your wallet and in your purse right now. So when this basket comes down the aisle, please take, this is for the Playhouse. This is for the air conditioning and the lights and the staff. Please take care of them. And I'm going to go back to, John, you ready? You're stretching? Oh, there you go. Stretch till it hurts. We do have a credit card reader. There's a couple neighborhoods here with credit card readers. All right, yeah, we got all kinds of controversial things coming up. All the gotcha questions. You guys did your homework? Sure you did. I'm sure you did. John, you ready?
I am ready.
All right, let's get back to business.